In February, we had a brand new game in the Resident Evil franchise release called Resident Evil Requiem. Now, something that I don't talk about that often on the channel is I am a pretty big Resident Evil fan. I've played my actual first Resident Evil game was the Resident Evil 3 remake, and I know a lot of people hate on that game. Personally, I kind of loved it, but I've played Village, I've played Resident Evil 4, I've played the Resident Evil 2, all the remakes. I haven't played all the games, but of the games I have played, I have really enjoyed. And now I've played Resident Evil Requiem. Reason the video's taken so long to give you a review for it, it's not like I just finished it, because it's not true. I finished it within a week. The reason it's so long to give you my video is this is mainly a movie review channel, and every time that I go to review this game, something else comes up, and there's a more important video to put out on the channel, but this is the week that I'm going to talk about Resident Evil Requiem, specifically because I think the two best things to release in 2026 so far is a TV show and a video game. TV show being Wonder Man, and the video game being, well, Resident Evil Requiem, because Resident Evil Requiem is awesome. Before I dive into my review, go ahead, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below. What are your opinions on the game? Are you a Resident Evil franchise fan? If you haven't played the game, are you more excited to see it? We'd love to know all that and more. And with that said, I'm going to put little baby, not baby, but little Jesus up here on the studio. And we are going to talk about Resident Evil Requiem. Now, how I'm going to structure a video game review is so much different from just the normal movie review. Because a movie review, you have like the story, you have like the technical aspects. You have everything you could talk about in a movie. With a video game review, it's different because it's more of a gameplay-based entertainment industry, obviously. That's why it's called a game. And so I'm going to talk about the gameplay first, and then I'm going to get into the story aspects. The gameplay's great. There's not a single issue I have with the gameplay. It's so fun. This game... used to say movie, you can tell. This game, from start to finish, is a blast to play. Whether you're just in these crazy scenarios where you're having to kill zombies, or you're in the whole hospital sequence, the first half of the game, that is just legitimately a scary game. It all runs smoothly. The mechanics are awesome. The big problem I have with a lot of games is how, like, when you aim a weapon, it just doesn't work for me. The aim in this game is so easy to maneuver. It's just, like, gameplay-wise, it's perfect, and it's so fun that even when I beat the game, I still wanted to play it because I just had such a blast going down and mowing down zombies. On a gameplay level, the game is perfect. On a technical aspect, the game looks phenomenal. It looks like a movie. That's saying it in the best way possible, where the cutscenes just are so gorgeous. Like, I know that I don't know exactly how the video game's done, animated well, but several sequences are animated well, and genuinely some great shots in there, so on that aspect, it's great as well. And on a story aspect, Resident Evil 9 Requiem had me invested the entire time. There's plenty of twists and turns in here. You love the characters. Now, the characters is something I want to talk about, so we're going to pause and talk about the characters here. The character of Grace is a character that I've seen on Twitter. People, not exactly, a lot of people love her, but the big controversy between her character is a lot of people don't think she is full-on badass. A lot of people think she's just here, and she's just doing it, and that's it for her character. And I fully disagree. Grace is awesome. Not only is she, yes, is the character that's thrown into this situation that she doesn't quite want to be in, and has to make do of it, but you notice her character traits, and she is just like the girl that's forced to do this, but she is super, super awesome as well. Just the way that she refuses to leave anybody behind, wants to rescue the little girl in the mix of the movie here, or the game here, the story. Everything about Grace made her such a fun protagonist to hang out with. And you get to Leon, who is just It's Leon Kennedy. He's awesome. He's so fun to play with, especially his arsenal. He is just a complete kick-ass character that's just dropping one-liners. And the way the game's structured is you play with Grace for the first half of the movie, and the second half, or first half of the game, I keep saying movie. The second half of the game, you're mainly with Leon Kennedy. And with Leon, it's more of an action-based narrative. With Grace, it's a horror-based narrative, and that's where we get into the gameplay. Is when we're with Grace and we're in the horror, the hospital sequence, when it's a horror survival game, this is one of the scariest games I've ever played. It is so perfectly done. Whether the game gives zombies personalities. Like certain zombies, you have a butcher character, and then you have a zombie that, like, hates noise, and you have the zombie that sings, the zombie that cries, and it's like, the zombies have personalities, and that makes them all the bit scarier. And whether it's just the typical jump scares that you get in a lot of horror games, and there are quite a bit, don't get me wrong, several times I was playing the game in front of my family, and I get jump scared, and I jump in the air, and they jump in the air, and it's like, awesome jump scares that you don't expect. But just the fact that you feel trapped in this hotel with the fact that the zombies have personalities makes them 10 times scarier. And then you get the girl, who the ginormous creature who just feels like an unstoppable killing machine. And every time you think you outsmarted it, something else comes along. And it's so scary. And that's what makes it so compelling, is you constantly want to escape the hospital. I don't have a lot of time to play games, and a lot of times when I had to pause it and like leave, go to work, do something, I just didn't want to do it because all I wanted to do was escape that hospital, and that it immerses you so well within the game. I will say, when you get to the Leon side, when we head to Raccoon City in the back half of the game, it's awesome. Again, of course, it's so cool to see Raccoon City back inside of this franchise, but I will say it loses a little bit of steam. I prefer the horror aspect of it, just how terrified I was throughout the entire game. Once you get to Leon and his whole section, you're basically just mowing down zombies. And the gameplay gets a tad bit repetitive, and it loses just a tad bit of steam for me personally. Every time that the game, I get uninvested from the game, though, it always finds a way to drag me back in. Whether it's just a super fun combat scene that you get to play through, or it's just a twist or a turn or a reveal, the game always finds a way to drag me back in to where I'm never fully out of the game. And again, like I said, it loses a little bit of steam in the back half. And the back half of the game is not as near as great as the first half of the game. I still had a really good time with the back half with Leon. So you got the characters, you got the world, the way, like I said, the way that everything's shaped. You got these set pieces, you got the zombies that feel like they have personalities. It's all built and crafted perfectly to not only be terrifying, but once you get to Raccoon City, just the set pieces, the way the world looks is absolutely incredible. You got great combat within the game. The story, I will say, at times, the story felt a little bit repetitive for me. Specifically, it kind of reminded me a lot of The Last of Us, and that's like a crazy statement, I know. But there were moments that I was reminded of The Last of Us. And if a movie has to remind me of something, The Last of Us is a pretty good game to remind me of. The Last of Us being one of my favorite games of all time, if not my favorite game of all time. And what I mean by that is you have certain moments, specifically with the girl that Grace has to rescue throughout the game, and that eventually turns into the zombie. It kind of feels like, oh, that's Sam and Henry from the original game, and you have the heartbreak of Leon having to kill that little girl. Certain moments throughout, especially with the fact that the whole journey is to find a cure, and it treats it like a big twist reveal in the back half of the game, like, oh, it's a cure, and you're like, oh, but it's pretty obvious that it was a cure the whole time. Again, I'm complaining a lot in this specific section. Still, if you're going to take a lot from The Last of Us is a perfect game to take from, and even like, I've seen people say gameplay reminds them a lot of The Last of Us. I've seen that, a lot of people say that, and again, If you're going to take from a game, you better take from The Last of Us. But it's still a lot of fun. But the story never quite lost me. Like I said, the first half of the game, when it's the horror element, is the most investing part of the game. Once you get to Raccoon City, there are moments that do drag, but throughout the story and set pieces, there's always a time that I'm brought back into the game. So I'm trying to find other things to say about the game. All I know is I had a blast playing this game. It's a game that is probably up there as in one of my top 5 games of all time. I'm just going to throw that out there because of all the things I've said. The horror elements, how fun it was. I played it within a week. I never play a game within a week. There's never really a game that makes me personally play it and not want to play or watch anything else. And like the whole week, I didn't watch anything. All my free time was devoted to that game. And I hit Resident Evil fever. And so there's never a game that can do that. And I just had such a good time playing the game. Such a good time with these characters. On a story level, it's great. So if you're a fan of the Resident Evil franchise, I'd imagine this most likely will be one of your favorite games in the franchise. Out of all the games I played, it's by far my favorite. And while I do say it had some repetitive moments, some things it took from other games, lost a little bit of steam in the back half, the game never lost me, and I still had a ton of fun playing the game. So not only the fact that the game is just really fun in general, but it's just a great game. Everything about it is crafted to near perfection. So I absolutely loved Resident Evil Requiem. Before I give you my final score, if you would subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, comment down below. What are your opinions on Resident Evil Requiem? And if you haven't played it, are you excited to play it now? Games this day and age are insane because you spend $70 on one video game. And this is the one rare game that I say the $70 I spent was 100% worth it for the game. I spent that same amount on Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I just couldn't even get halfway through the game. It was just repetitive gameplay. This game didn't have that. So, like I mentioned in the video, everything about this game was near perfection. While I did have a few tiny little issues, never slandered my love for this game, and it's by far my favorite game inside of the Resident Evil franchise that I have played. So with that said, Resident Evil Requiem, gonna get an A+ from me, and the Zach D seal of approval. This is a must-play game. If you're a fan of horror survival games, you're gonna love the first half, but just if you're a fan of games where you mow down zombies, you're gonna have a ton of fun either way, and just a fan of this franchise, I think you too are gonna think this is one of the best games in this franchise. And with that said, make sure you play this game if you haven't already, and subscribe.